Off the coast of Britain, in the heart of the Irish Sea, there's a small island with a big story, the Isle of Man. Located between Great Britain and Ireland, and not to be confused with the Isle of Wight, like a lot of people do, which can be painful for a Manx native like myself. It's only 33 miles long, but it's a land shaped by ancient gods, colossal giants, early settlers, and yes, the science behind the millions of years of geological chaos. Told through ancient mythology, deep geological time, and thousands of years of human history, we'll explore a few different ways in which the Isle of Man is said to have been formed. According to Celtic mythology, the Isle of Man was protected by a powerful sea god named Manannán mac Lir, the first ruler of the Isle of Man. He ruled from the top of a mountain called South Barrule and would ride across the sea on a chariot pulled by white horses or on a magical horse named Enbar. It is said he used his magic to shroud the island in mist, hiding it from enemies and invaders, and only those he allowed could find their way through the fog to safety. This is called the Cloak or the Shroud of Manannán, and is still referenced today by the locals on the island. Manannán was a powerful sorcerer and shapeshifter, serving as the gatekeeper for guiding souls across the sea to the other world and bridging the two realms. In return for his protection, the people offered him a yearly tribute such as rushes, fish, or other natural gifts to appease him. This legend is one of the oldest associated with the island and reflects the strong connection between Manx culture, the sea, and the supernatural. In fact, the island may even take its name from him, Manannán becoming Mannan, which is the Manx name for the island. Now bear with me here guys, because I'm not a geologist. However, geologically speaking, the Isle of Man is incredibly ancient. Its bedrock formed over 500 million years ago, during the Ordovician and Silurian periods, making it one of the planet's ancient geological regions. This is comparable to something like Scotland and parts of Scandinavia, which share similar ancient mountain routes. To put this truly into perspective, the Himalayas, for example, are relatively young, forming only around 40 to 50 million years ago, which is far younger than the Isle of Man's geology. The Rocky Mountains in North America are another example of this, which were primarily formed 55 to 80 million years ago. Later during the Ice Age, glaciers moved across the Isle of Man and carved out valleys, shaping the rugged hills and coastlines that we see today. The Isle of Man was not just born, it was built over hundreds of millions of years through fire, pressure and ice, and its truly beautiful landscape with a rich history absolutely worth visiting. Historically, humans have lived on the Isle of Man for over 8,000 years. The first settlers were Mesolithic hunter-gatherers who lived off of the land and sea. Around 500 BCE, Celtic tribes arrived and started to establish farming communities. They introduced many number of things, including a language that evolved into Manx, very closely related to Irish and Scottish Gaelic, as well as other elements thrown in there for some fun. They also brought with them their beliefs, such as the worship of Manannán mac Lir, the sea god I mentioned earlier, along with other customs that became the foundations of early Manx culture. In the 9th century, the island saw the arrival of Norse Vikings. They were not only raiders but also settlers who left a lasting impact on the island's place names, language, and the legal systems. One of their most significant contributions was the founding of Tynwald, the island's parliament, which was established over 1,000 years ago and considered the oldest continuous parliamentary body in the world. Now we've covered 3 different origin stories to the Isle of Man, and trust me there are many more, but who doesn't love a bit of an encore? There's another legend involving the Isle of Man that explains the origin of the Loch Ness, the largest lake in Ireland. According to one tale, 2 giants, one from Ireland, one from Scotland, had a fierce battle. The Irish giant grabbed a massive piece of earth from his homeland and hurls it across the sea at the other giant. The chunk lands in the water and simply becomes the Isle of Man. The hole left behind started to fill with water and it became the Loch Ness. Of course it's just one story, but it's a great example of how other people in ancient times used storytelling to explain the world around them. So whether it's through mythology, geology, or history, the story of the Isle of Man is layered and unique. It's a place shaped by ancient gods, powerful natural forces, and thousands of years of human culture. Exploring these stories helps us connect with the island's past and understand the deep ties between the people, land, and the legends. And let's face it, not many people know where the Isle of Man even is or what it is. I hope you enjoyed diving into the stories and the history of the Isle of Man. And if this video was interesting or helped you at all, drop a like, comment and subscribe, because it really does help a lot. And for any Manx speakers out there, Gulamayu.